It's another day, so another video where you can hear me talk. And today I've actually got something happened to me recently, well, yesterday. And, well, I'll just tell the story. I was working on my next thumbnail and I got a notification from a friend. He sent me a message on Discord. Well, he didn't send me a message per se, but he sent out a prompt on a Discord server. Like most of you guys know what it is. It's this online communication platform. You can create these groups with multiple people, up to 100. And he sent out this question to other people. How do I control my emotions? And so he explained that he's this guy who frequently lashes out at his teachers. And it kind of took me back to who I used to be. And it's made me think of how important it is to be honest in order to control your emotions, to do what you want to do. So in his case, after a couple of times going back and forth, we kind of found out that when he sits in the classroom, he often becomes angry at the teacher. Like they're probably saying something mean or annoying towards him. But he can't say anything back, or otherwise he would be sent back like most people have experienced stuff like that, or at least seen it. So he had to force him to stay quiet, and he just sat there like teaching, writing his tests out, trying to project what he learned the day before. But the teacher was still there, annoying him, doing something messed up, but he couldn't do anything against it, so he kept writing. The teacher kept going on. And eventually, when the teacher broke down or became extreme, he lashed out. And he wanted to do something against the anger. But what I've learned is that you can't do something against the anger, because it's not something you really have control over. Emotions, they're more like parts of the world, or at least connected a bit with it. When something's threatening you, you become angered. And the problem is that there is still something threatening him, something that's annoying, frustrating, something that's bothering him, but he can't say anything against it because he's not letting himself do it. Something inside of him. Well, no, he's not making the choice to do anything about it for other reasons. And that's where he kind of caused his own lashing out. Because if you can't let yourself just say something against it, then you have no other way but to scream and lash out, because that's the only option you're giving yourself. He was trying to push away this anger, this desire in him. And it messes him up, and he didn't know what to do against it. And well, he didn't really understand what I was trying to say to him. Like first he understood that I told him to keep ignoring the emotion. But no, what I'm trying to say is, and I want you guys to remember that as well, is that emotions are like these spirits inside of you, all telling you what they want. Of course, the only way to keep a persistent spirit, well, like these children that keep bothering you, keep nagging you, the only way to get them to shut up is to give them what they want. Like that, okay, you can punish the child, but the spirit is always going to be there because it's literally everything that's driving you. And I used to be guilty of that as well. I always lie to people. Well, perhaps they were bothering me, they were annoying or said something I disagreed with. I was afraid that if I told them, that they would dislike me or that they would lash out at me themselves. And ironically, trying to hold myself back from telling them, I gave myself no other option but to scream at them. I was like, that's quiet, kid, always quiet, quiet. And then people being surprised that I lash out. And it's because the quiet kid is either he doesn't give a fuck, or he's not giving him any options to project, to show his own desires. And if you're not okay with like telling other people like these small steps that you can take to get rid of it, then the only thing that's left is the extremes. And at first I didn't really understand that. It was more an intuitive understanding when I scrolled through YouTube for a while because I was severely anxious, and I came across this video of a guy explaining to be honest, and it made everything click. If you can't be honest about what you want, or you don't try to get what you want, what will happen to that desire or craving? Like, you're still hungry for it. So you definitely have to do something against it. And when you try to see that desire as a problem itself, like that little spirit that is angry, maybe you'll say you're traumatized, maybe you have PTSD, who knows what label you throw on it, but there's still something out there that's bothering you. And it's your job to either do something against it or understand. Well, you do something against it by trying to understand what the threat is or what is bothering you. That's the first step, like understanding what the hell is bothering you in the first place. Like, if you're just angry in the class and it's the only thing you notice, you probably fail to realize that it's the teacher annoying you, or you being annoyed at the teacher. It doesn't matter how you phrase it. But like, the teacher has something to do with it. Like, the teacher speaks, you're annoyed. That's the first step. Now the second step is doing something against it. Like, you tell the teacher, maybe you stand up for yourself, I don't know, maybe you, in a more extreme scenario, you fight the person. I usually wouldn't recommend that, and I've never dealt with fighting as of today. But that's the only way you can deal with it. Or you can also just realize that the person maybe wasn't that annoying as they first were. But even just trying to understand that they weren't as annoying, you have to speak to them first or confront them by it. If you don't really, if you feel like the teacher is just throwing some negative remarks towards you, then yeah, tell them. And maybe they tell you in return that they didn't mean it that way. They don't hate you, they just meant it as a way of encouraging you. I don't know. That's just something that I thought of at the top of my head. But it's not the most realistic scenario. But you understand what I'm saying. Like, tell them or do something against it, and only by doing that, you can realize that the teacher didn't mean it that way, or the person angering you didn't mean it that way. And I hope that you guys understand that, because that's something I've been struggling with for at least 10 years of my life, and I've been only trying to get rid of it for 3 years, which is still a terribly long time. Like, just trying to journal what is happening, what I can do, reading books on trauma, thinking that my anger is this type of PTSD that I got from my parents. That's something that I keep looking back from the past. But it's really, even when you just call it PTSD or trauma, it's still something that you want in this moment, which has nothing to do with the past. Maybe the past taught you to be annoyed at such people. But the truth is that even now, when you learn new things, it's still annoying. So you have to deal with it. You have to ask the people about this stuff and trying to broaden your perspective and understand it fully. Maybe like journaling about it. But to me, confronting the person is a crucial step that I'm taking now as well. Like, I'm not trying to proclaim that I've fixed everything. Well, fixed everything. I'm definitely not the person that I want to become, but I'm damn sure that I'm on the path towards becoming what I want to become, which is someone who can be angry when I have to be angry, someone who is afraid when I have to be afraid, someone who is disciplined when he needs to be disciplined. And I know that this video was supposed to be on discipline more than emotions, but it's still the same principle. Let's say that you're now just scrolling on your TikToks, I don't know, YouTube. You clicked on this video, just trying to get some, well, I would say quick dopamine. It's I kind of think it's bullshit, but you know what I mean. You're trying to just have fun. But another part is ashamed of you because you actually wanted to go work out, go do pull-ups. Then you have two desires, like instead of just the one desire as with the anger example. But now you want to have fun and you want to do pull-ups. Those are two desires. And the fact that you're now just scrolling here means that you didn't embrace it completely. Well, embrace it. You didn't really desire it badly enough. And okay, I know I just told you guys that you can't turn up your desires or turn them off. But I'm saying that you're on TikTok because there's a desire to want you to go on TikTok. And as you probably would have figured out yourself, maybe, I don't know, is that humans aren't really supposed to be born with the enjoyment of watching TikTok. No, something inside of you is desiring something, and TikTok is giving you that. Maybe you're using it as a coping mechanism in order to get rid of your loneliness, or maybe you're just so anxious that you try to distract yourself from everything. Maybe you're looking for information, maybe some fun, but something inside of you is hungry, and you need to deal with that hunger while doing these pull-up workouts. Because otherwise, when you're doing the pull-up workouts, that hungering feeling is going to pull at you. It's giving resistance because you're not dealing with that desire. And for me, that used to be loneliness. Well, it still is. I'm still pretty lonely, but I'm making definite and noticeable improvements at it. But I used to be this person who was completely isolated. I was even too scared to text people on online servers, maybe in games, anywhere, honestly. And I was just completely isolated from the world because I was scared. So it makes sense, if there's something scary, why should you confront it, right? So I just try to be alone, this kind of lone wolf, as I was as some would describe it. And even though I was this lone wolf, I couldn't really concentrate. I always was annoyed. Something pulling at me, something depressing. It's just failed me. Everything that I wanted to do didn't work because it wasn't giving me something. Like workouts just didn't feel good. Journaling didn't do anything. Therapy didn't even do anything. And I've only realized that when journaling for 2 years, like hanging on papers left and right on my wall. Like there were 40 papers on my walls, like these spreadsheets, and all the prompts. Okay, why am I feeling like shit? Where does my trauma come from? Trying to understand what was happening. And I started out understanding that I've been traumatized. But okay, that's pretty vague. What does that even mean, traumatized? At first I respond with it's this disease that you're given and you have to challenge out of you. I tried that for 1.5 years with barely any progress. Then I kind of started the new approach, which I'm using now and which seems promising, and has been working as well. And it's that it's emotions are real things. Like they're always connected with the real world or something that we actually see that's there, something real. And I kind of started understanding that my depression just came from people not liking me and never liking me. So when I did pull-ups, it didn't do anything because people wouldn't even notice. I would be there completely alone. And even just getting out of bed wouldn't matter because people didn't like me. So I had just no other option to distract me because people wouldn't like me anyways. I was weird. I had bad habits left and right. Keep saying left and right, my bad. But I just wasn't adequate. I'm not a good speaker. I wasn't smart. I wasn't successful. I had bad grades in college. And so I believe that nobody liked me because that's what I've always been told and heard around me. You have to be one of the best in order to be liked by everyone because they would just leave me, right? And I've been challenging this. I've actually started speaking to people now, trying to understand, like, is this really necessary? And even though I'm not perfect, I still manage to get people to like me. So that fake reality started falling down and my emotions started disappearing because loneliness is not having anyone around you. It's a reality. And because that reality broke down, the emotions broke down with it. And because that happened while I was doing the pull-ups daily, getting out of bed daily, trying to diet daily, things became easier and easier and easier the more that reality plummeted. And trying to get rid of this hunger, this spirit inside of you, you enable yourself to do other things. And that's really what's pulling you back when you notice no progress. I'm thinking of what to say. Well, I don't know if you guys really care, but it's interesting. Like, if you have so many desires, like, you would probably ask yourself, which one should you focus on? Like, you're hungry, you want people to like you, you want to be the best, you want to be an engineer. There are probably other desires. Happy, it's an obvious one. Well, those are the only ones that are really relevant to me at this point in time, because that's what I'm basing my goals on. And what I'm going to say is that in order to fulfill all of those desires, you have to set a goal where all those desires meet. So you want, if you notice that you want people to like you, make that part of your goal. Okay, when you notice you want to become a boxer, then make that part of your goal. Maybe you also want to help people, make that part of your goal, and then try to merge them together in order to become a boxer who acts like a symbol for people who have already been given up. And by acting as a symbol, people will be attracted to him and he's surrounded, so he won't feel lonely. And creating this story, in a sense, or this goal, is what you need in order to meet those goals. That's what's happening with me. Like, I don't feel pulled back by my loneliness. I don't feel pulled back for dieting, because I know everything that I want is going to happen in the future, because I know that I'm working towards it. Like, everyone would work towards their dream. If you're extremely hungry, you're going to work for food. And it's sometimes you're going to have to sacrifice some desires in the short term, but because in the long term those desires are going to be fulfilled, you don't have to worry about it. It's not going to be hard. You won't feel repelled by it, because you can have faith that it's only momentarily. And because it's momentarily and it serves a good purpose and you will be paid back, you're becoming this, you're okay with letting them go for a second. I'm trying to think of an example of this. Like, there's this really nice story that I read, and it's about this lonely guy who is completely depressed and he doesn't know what to do with his life. Like, teachers don't like him because he has bad grades. He's so depressed, and so he doesn't really give a fuck about school. And when walking around this school, he is confronted by this person who teaches him about climbing. And the more he understands about climbing, the more he can recognize his desires in them. And instead of staying depressed and doing nothing, he is depressed and looking for a goal. And that goal for him was climbing mountains so that he could be completely alone. And while you would probably get that his goal wouldn't be completely fulfilled, it's something that he learns as well on his journey. He's still okay with sacrificing what is happening now for something good, something that he loves in the future. And that's also kind of why different personalities are really clear when you look at a person's goals, because a goals is literally everything they want. It's in a way it's themselves. It's their own truth. It's what they're born with and what they are working towards. It defines their end goal. Of course, to define yourself, you need also parts of your capabilities, biology, I don't know. But you get what I'm saying. Like, in order to get what you want, in order to, well, not to get what you want, but in order to control your emotions, you have to have faith that they will all return back to you. Just like the guy knowing that by talking to his teacher, the anger will dissipate. That's the person working on his loneliness and actually meeting people, that loneliness would also dissipate and he would become better at working out. And the person who defines his goals is going to be okay with temporarily quieting any desire, because he knows it will return back to him in the future. And it's because a lot of us don't define this fate, this end goal, that's a lot of them are struggling. I have a lot of, well, I don't really call them friends right now because we haven't talked in a bit, but I have a lot of people who just drink their feelings away. And it's because well, I'm 19, so a lot of us go to college. And as you might know, most people in college don't know what to do with the rest of their lives. And it's because they don't have anything that they want or are too scared to define what they want. They're just on this weird road full of desires that are just there. Like, those desires don't have any faith in getting what they want anyways, because you don't have anything planned for the future. So these people just try to look for short-term gratification, as most of you call it. Like, they don't have anything in the future going on for them anyway, so why wouldn't they just try to fulfill their desires right now anyway? And it's just simply not possible unless you're okay with not having everything that you want. Well, monks probably would find a way to still feel okay, but I don't really agree with their philosophy, because they're trying to get rid of certain desires at some points. But what I'm saying is that because my friends, and I've told them, because they don't really know where to go, they become these self-pleasure creatures with a lot of trauma, anxiety, and addictions. But in reality, it's just their desires looking for things that are not getting anyway. So in order to get what you want, you have to know what you want. Plus, well, no, that's actually it. Just know what you want and know that you're working toward it, which is extremely important. Like, the person who is going to be alone forever has no reason to do anything, because one of these desires is going to stay stuck there. Because the desire is going to stay stuck, he has no reason, well, he has no other option than trying to gratify himself in the short term. If you're going to be lonely anyways, why just not distract yourself? So maybe you also have to know what you want, but you also have to have hope in yourself, which is another topic. I'll probably talk about it in a future video. I've talked about the concepts and lessons that I've learned somewhere before. But yeah, it's difficult if you don't know what you want. So I hope you guys find it out and define what you want.